Roblox, a topic I know literally nothing about. But someone suggested I do a video on it, and I've never been one to let a complete lack of knowledge or skill stop me from doing anything. I knew so little about it that up until yesterday, I didn't even know that it absolutely had nothing to do with Legos. Maybe it's because it's beyond my time, or maybe it's because if I ever felt the urge to preoccupy myself with interacting with lots of underage children online, I would probably just turn myself in to a police station instead. Either way, I'm going to try to do my best to cover a topic that I thought would be interesting relating to Roblox, and I was able to find one that had memes, controversy, death, and possible lawsuits, all of which I am much more experienced with in terms of talking about them on this channel. So without further ado, I present the topic of today's video, the death of the Roblox death sound. So I guess for people who are old like me, I should probably start with a quick summary of what Roblox is, which is a platform for people to make and play their own games, not a game itself like what I thought it was. It hosts millions of games which are free to play, but things can be purchased with in-game currency, which is how the whole platform is monetized. It has 85 million daily users, which astonishingly includes half of American children who are under the age of 16. How does it let people make games so easily? Well, it has a console that's comprised of pre-made templates and assets, along with a lot of other tools that make game generation easier than learning to code it completely from scratch, which I suggest everyone try to do at least once, because you haven't truly experienced pain until you spend 45 minutes wondering why your code won't compile, until you find the single missing bracket you forgot to add in several hundred lines of code. And as it turns out, one of the most commonly used sound effects included as a default is a dying/player reset sound, which became fairly infamous within the Roblox community. Why was that? Well, the sound that was used was a fairly silly oof sound, and because of that, its epic status became cemented in 2016 when people started using it for their own memes, games, videos, and even songs, so much that Roblox decided to use it as their volume testing indicator. Now, I want to play the sound, but due to copyright concerns, I chose instead to make my own approximation of the sound here. Ooh. And feel free to use that to your heart's content, as long as you link to this video or make some sort of vague reference to this channel in your project. So why have I chosen to spend so much time and energy creating my own version of the sound instead of just risking copyright infringement? Well, as it just so happens, the sound has a contentious past in terms of who actually has the rights to it. And in 2019, Tommy Tallarico claimed the sound was obtained illegally and was being used without his permission, and that he was the current rights holder. But who is this Tommy Tallarico fellow? I've never heard of him personally, but he apparently did some work on video game sound effects and music in the 90s and 2000s. He also has made some pretty interesting claims over the years about all the amazing things that he's done, which some people have stated may be either misleading or seen as complete lies. I'm certainly not saying he's made misleading claims or lied about anything, but if you do want an interesting deep dive on the topic, you can watch a whole 2-hour video essay on it by clicking the little thing up here. And in fact, when researching this video, I was going through his Wikipedia article, and at the time of writing this, the article even questioned the accuracy of his date of birth, saying that it was either in 1967 or in 1968. Trying to figure out whether one or the other of these dates is actually true led me down a rabbit hole that took many more hours longer than the total amount of research I did for this entire video. Like, I had that 2-hour deep dive play fully twice in the background while I was looking up public records to try to confirm his date of birth and age. I did find documents, including one from his court case, that said he was born in 1968, which was concurrent with his date of birth on his IMDb, stating it's February 18th, 1968. In my research, I also found what I believe to be his yearbook photos from his sophomore year of high school in 1985. and here they are for your viewing pleasure. My favorite was him on the football team. Now, if my math is correct, he was 17 at the end of his sophomore year, which seems a bit old, but I'm going to leave it to you all to speculate about that. His IMDb also says that he's 5'3", which again, I didn't believe until I looked into it, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was true, especially if those are his real pictures from high school. That alone, with the things I've seen about his personality, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a bit of an inferiority complex, because from the look of things, I'm pretty sure I have a solid 7 inches on him. And I'm also taller. Now, back to the death sound. Tommy argued that Roblox had gotten this sound from a sound effects website that had been using it illegally because it did not acquire the rights to its use. Roblox countered this by saying it was sourced instead by a sound CD-ROM that they purchased when they were developing the software, and thus they were permitted to use it. And for those who aren't familiar with shortcuts in video game development, it's a fairly common practice to purchase pre-made assets from third parties instead of producing everything in-house. This saves time and energy and is generally used for things like textures, background music, sound effects, or basically anything that's likely already been created by someone else that isn't important enough to be custom built for your game. Usually this is a good thing as long as you're sure that the rights to those assets are owned legitimately and the specific use in your project fall under the licensing rights that you get when purchasing it. So who was right? Did Roblox steal Tommy Tallarico's sound effect, or was their version legitimately licensed by a third party? Well, we don't know for sure, because the two parties reached an agreement in 2020, and that resulted in the old sound effect being replaced with a new one, and later, the old sound effect and a sound effect kit made by Tallarico was made available to be purchased in the developer marketplace. It is important to note that this agreement does not conclusively prove that Tommy created nor have current rights to the sound effect, and some argued that this was just done to quickly resolve the issue without wasting any more time and money on a potential lawsuit for an asset that would add little to no real value, except as a meme. I would like to hear what you all think about it. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I'm Frank Ciopatini with Servetti Software, and I'll see you in the next one.